This video is about VC17, which has been discontinued now with no replacement. And that's why it's so critical to the boat buying process right now, potentially adding thousands to the price of any boat with VC17 on it. But we're also going to talk about the other bottom paint, Ablative, and how all this mess from the EPA and other environmental agencies and all the changes they're making impact us, the sailors, in the boat buying process. This week on everything you need to know, if you're buying a boat right now or own a boat, why you need to stop and pay attention. Bottom paint is changing. Now that all sounds pretty dramatic, and for some of us, it kinda will be. Heck, it already is. But if you're boat shopping, it's going to be a critical question you ask the seller. What bottom paint does this boat have right now? Because if it has the discontinued products on it, you might be on the hook for thousands of dollars media blasting and refinishing the hull. It would be like buying a house with asbestos in the carpet right now. Yeah, you can fix it, but do you want to? So here's the deal with bottom paint. There are two schools of thought when it comes to this stuff: ablative or go fast paint. All of the boats you're looking at right now have one or the other. And bottom paint is critical to stop sea life from growing on the bottom of the hull, algae and things like that, while the boat sits in the water. A good bottom paint job can be thousands of dollars, and the goal is always to have little to no sea growth down there if you can. Even a thin slime of sea growth has a very dramatic effect on the efficiency of the hull through the water. So your hull speed might be a nice comfy 7 or 8 knots. A bit of growth might pull that down to 6 or even 5. It really is that dramatic. So companies made some special paint to fix that problem. And the first one we're going to talk about today is Ablative. That's the stuff that I use, and it has its pros and cons. The biggest pro right now is it hasn't been discontinued, so there's that. But Ablative is designed to tackle this sea growth issue in a couple of ways. First, it's resistant to sea growth in the first place, but over time, the growth will still happen, just very slowly. But this is where Ablative paint does its sort of magic trick. It simply falls off. Once the sea growth is heavy enough to defeat the adhesion of the paint to the boat hull, the paint simply lets go of the boat and falls off, taking the growth with it. Once enough of the paint has fallen off, you pull the boat out of the water, slap a 40 grit disc on the sander, and give the whole hull a quick once over, and then slap some more ablative paint on it. It's pretty simple. Here's the reality of that process in the real world. With brand new ablative paint, I put my boat in the water. It needs very minimal care over the next 12 months or so. When I go swimming, I might take a little scrubby brush to the waterline real quick, just to knock off any growth that's there on my new paint. And as long as you do that every couple of months, everything's pretty fine. After a year or so, you might start seeing some of the paint flaking as it gets growth on it. That's its job. It's supposed to flake. So for me, in my world, after 2 years, some of the paint has let go and it starts to look a little bit patchy. Once enough has fallen off, it's time to haul the boat out and repaint it. Sanding ablative is a horrible job. It's absolutely terrible, but it's cheap, it's quick, and it's fairly easy. 40 grit sandpaper, a Tyvek suit, a breathing mask, and have at it. It'll take a few hours to get 40 grit over the whole hull, but it's really easy work. You can pay the neighborhood kids to do it if you want to. It really takes no skill at all. Once the whole boat is roughed up with the 40 grit, I buy 4 quarts of ablative at about $50 a quart, a roller and a pan, and I spend the next 2 hours slopping it on. It goes on almost like roofing tar. It's ridiculously easy to lay a flat, even coat and have it look pretty good when you're done. Seriously, children could get good results here. So some effort, 40 grit sandpaper, and $200 worth of paint every 2 to 3 years. That's the reality. My bottom paint problems are solved. You can even alternate coats if you want. I like to do a blue coat, and then when it dries, I do a black coat. As the black falls off and you start to see the blue, you know you're about halfway through the life of your 2 coats of bottom paint. When the blue falls off, it's time for more paint. That's ablative, and for me, cruising is the perfect place for ablative because it's cheap and easy, and we have to haul out every couple of years anyway to do anodes and other repairs, gear oil if you have a sail drive. It just makes sense. However, ablative has a problem, a big problem. The mission here at Lady K Sailing has always been to get more people sailing more easily, and I genuinely couldn't do it without you guys, without the help of the patrons. These are the folks that give a couple of bucks an episode to make this all possible. Thank you so very much. If you'd like to help out, please consider becoming a patron. So, what's Ablative's problem? This super cheap and easy solution, what could go wrong? Well, it's slow. It's very slow through the water because it's not smooth to begin with, and it gets even less smooth as it ages. Not losing to not slow, but you won't be winning any races against the guys that don't use ablative. So that's the problem. So what's the alternative? Well, it's Go Fast Paint. And what the biggest name is on the planet in Go Fast Paint is VC17. It's got a lot of variants like VC17M or whatever, but all of them are being discontinued. I won't go down the rabbit hole too far here, but suffice it to say, the chemical in VC17 that actually makes it work so well is ergorol, and that's been banned. So without ergorol, VC paint won't really do its job anymore, and thus they stopped making it. The reality of VC paint goes like this. The hull is media blasted and made as near perfect as possible, smooth and pristine, and then VC paint is rolled on so to create a very smooth and slick finish. VC paint is hard. It doesn't flake off. It's super smooth, so it goes through the water like a waxed surfboard. It's really wonderful stuff. It looks like you painted the bottom with the same paint you would use on your car. It's really, really nice. Once the boat's in the water, you just keep it clean. VC has the ability to restrict sea growth for a really long time, sometimes years, and nothing will stick to it. Algae, seaweed, speeding tickets, nothing sticks. But you have to keep it clean. You'll see the VC guys out scrubbing the waterline at least once before every race, but often more times than that. Clean, clean, clean. Clean is smooth, and smooth is fast. Now, when VC starts to lose its edge, the boat is hauled out and new VC is applied, and VC will stick to VC. So a quicksand and reapply is all that you really need, but it won't be $200 worth of paint. VC is very, very pricey, and you can plan on spending a lot more money in the name of speed and efficiency through the water if that's what you're after. Racers love this stuff. Cruisers generally can't really be bothered with it. It's too much work. It's too expensive. It's too hard to paint over with a different product because nothing will stick to the stuff. Which brings us to our problem. They're not going to make it anymore. So if nothing sticks to VC except VC and your boat has VC on it, what do we do? Or what do we buy if we buy a boat that has VC and we want ablative because we want to go cruising? The answer is simple. It's money. You have the bottom completely redone, media blasted, barrier coats times 5 or 10, and apply ablative. The VC guys are scrambling right now to buy up the last of the VC on store shelves, or buying that one that's still made in Trinidad, which is still available for the moment, but it's going to be gone soon too. But anyone who has a boat that wants Go Fast Paint and can't afford to switch to ablative, or anyone who wants to keep going fast, will need an answer to this problem, and right now we don't have one. Interlux and the other companies who make this VC sort of paint have said they're working on a replacement product that will stick to your old VC and will be just as good, but it's kind of all big company talk and we still don't really know anything. The rumblings in the sailing world are pretty clear. People who have tried products without the ergorol chemical in them say they don't work anywhere near as well as VC does. People are hoarding VC paint right now, and shelves are almost out of stock all over the world. Boats with VC will be faced with a big and potentially expensive problem if industry doesn't find a way to replace that paint. So if you're boat shopping right now, or really any time in the next year, Ask the question, does this boat sport that go fast paint like VC, or is it the much easier to live with Ablative? And if it is VC, make a fuss about it. Try to bring the price down a little bit because there's uncertainty in the atmosphere about that paint. Also, if you're boat shopping right now and you need help and you want to book an hour of my time, head over to ladyksailing.com/consults. I'd love to hear from you. This is a great time to leave a comment on this video. What bottom paint do you run? Share your experience to help the other sailors that are here right now so that we can get more of us out there more easily. Until next week, friends, keep the heavy side down, but not too far down. I love you guys.